Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at where next week to 10 days in today's video, and we'll also have a look at CFS V2 for the next month as well. That should take us well into November. We'll start off looking at the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation. So before we get on with that, just say about the ad. So 6 articles on the page. You have a browse, which is click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you're probably going to the website. Thanks very much for doing that. So this is the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. You can see that we have definitively moved into quite a negative period of the Arctic Oscillation now. So the black line here tells us where the Arctic Oscillation has been, right way back into the summer, to start of July. And then red lines at the end telling us where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. So you see through most of the summer and into the autumn, the Arctic Oscillation was generally in a positive phase. That tells us that we had high pressure around the Azores and low pressure around Iceland, and also low pressure up over the North Pole as well. From around the start of October, this is 1st of October just here, you can see that we did go down quite dramatically into negative territory, and really was stayed negative with the Arctic Oscillation through October. So this month will turn out to be very definitively a negative AO month, and this is set to continue. Although we are forecast to have a bit of an increase in the Arctic Oscillation back to neutral for a few days towards the end of this week into weekend, it looks like the trend then is actually to go more negative again as we move through in towards the start of November. Remember, this is an index that reflects the state of the atmosphere over North Pole. It doesn't drive anything, just tells you what the atmosphere is doing. So when you have a negative Arctic Oscillation, you've got blocking, you've got high pressure over the North Pole. And it's the same for the North Atlantic Oscillation as well. That again is an index that is just reflecting the state of the atmospheric setup in the Atlantic Ocean as opposed to the Arctic, not driving anything. This is again the NAO observed and forecast chart. The black lines here telling us where the Arctic Oscillation has been, the North Atlantic Oscillation has been, I should say. The red lines at the end telling us where the NAO is forecast to go. Interestingly, through October, the NAO hasn't been all that negative, really. It's actually been on the positive side. So we've had negative Arctic Oscillation and a positive North Atlantic Oscillation. That's quite a unique combination. Normally, these two signals do move in sync with one another, these indexes. So it's quite unusual to have one go negative and one stay positive. Anyway, the forecast is downhill as we go through the start of November. It looks like the NAO is trending negative as well. So as getting to November, we may well find the NAO and the AO both going into negative territory. That could be a signal for colder weather ahead in November. You can have both of these indexes going negative. I think that could be a colder signal for November. We'll have to wait and see. These are the GFS temperature precipitation ensemble, so the upper atmosphere for the next couple of weeks. So the red line here, 30-year temperature average. We're going above average a few days through the rest of this week and into weekend. Kind of a warmer spell. We've got dry weather around as well. You can see hardly any precipitation spikes with that spell of warmer weather. Into the weekend and next week, this is 1st of November just here, a week today, we find that the ensembles are trending cooler than average. And then they stay cooler than average really through the first week of the month. This takes us to around the 9th, 10th just here. So as the NAO and the AO are both going negative, the blocking is clearly there over the Arctic. Looks like we're going to go cooler than average. It doesn't look desperately cold at the moment. A couple of days ago, models were sort of flirting with an idea of pulling down a really cold northerly wind. That has gone away at the moment. We're not seeing the extent of blocking for early November, it was a couple of days ago. Nevertheless, it does look as though temperatures are going down a bit below average. So this is how the chart's looking for weekend. We've got high pressure dominating the weather. That's going to give us fairly warm days, but probably quite cool nights, especially if we get mist and fog developing with that. Into the start of next week, and we find that ridge gradually weakening as low pressure's trying to push in from the north and the west. Eventually, as we go through to Tuesday, 1st of November, a week away, we do find that ridge collapsing and the trough pushes down from the northwest. That probably brings a band of rain and also turns the winds around to the north. Now, the origin of those winds is somewhere around Greenland and Iceland, so it will be cooler, but this isn't the Arctic blast coming right way down from the North Pole that the models were forecasting over the weekend. So cooler, yes. Probably wintry showers for Scotland, probably cold enough for night frost as well, but not an Arctic plunge through the first week of November. This is how we look on Wednesday the 2nd, a ridge toppling back in. That could give us some frost, and the westerlies come back into Scotland, so milder and wetter there. And then we do it again. We get another push of winds from the northwest as we go through into the end of next week. This takes up to day 10, which is Friday 4th of November. We bring down this north to northwesterly flow. That is a bit colder, actually, for the isobars back. The air there is originating from quite a long way north. So that could well bring snow showers to northern parts of Scotland, and certainly there'd be a risk of night frost by that point. ECWF for the weekend shows high pressure over the country, so lots of dry and settled weather. Could be fog and mist patches night and morning. That low pressure clears away as we go through the start of next week. This low pressure to the high pressure clears away, I should say, start of next week. This low pressure to the north begins to move down, brings a cold front with it. That'll take a band of rain, and then we'll introduce cooler air from the northwest. Again, not the Arctic plunge that we were looking at a few days ago, but certainly a lot cooler. Could be wintry showers for Scotland. As this ridge builds in through the course of next week, that could well produce cold nights with the risk of the first widespread frost across the whole country of the season. That high pressure still hanging around into the end of next week, day 10, Friday 4th of November. So it does look cooler next week, not the Arctic blast, but it certainly looks cooler, and I think we'll see night frost and probably for Scotland some wintry showers as well. Just not the big Arctic plunge that we was looking at over the weekend. Finally, just have a look at the charts from the CFSV2 for the next month. So these are 500 heights broken down into weekly periods. The first week period takes from the 25th through to 31st of October. Lots of anticyclonic influences, and the ridge is generally centred out to the west, which means the flow does something like that coming down from the northwest. I think that's a fairly good representation of the weather we've got coming up over the next week. We go through into week 2, which is the first week of November. Goes from the 1st through to the 7th of November. The ridge is going further out to the northwest, troughing over Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. That could open the door to northerly winds, which could come from an Arctic origin, and that's more likely they're going to be northwesterly, bringing the air down from Greenland and Iceland, which will be cool, but not desperately cold. Week 3, again, we build the ridge back in, so lots of dry weather continues. It's been a really dry autumn. Looks like this is continuing into November. Week 3 is the 8th through to 14th of November. Shows lots of high pressure dominating, low pressures to the south. And with that one, we could well be bringing the air in from a northeasterly direction. Quite interesting. That could be quite cold. Maybe bringing wintry showers into northern eastern parts of the country. And then week 4, which is the 15th through to 21st of November, that one looks a bit different. We've got high pressure over Scandinavia, but also stretched down to eastern parts of Europe. Presumably, there's some sort of trough through here. So that could be a good deal more unsettled, with the jet stream doing something a bit like that. We might still be on the cold side of the jet, but I would have thought there's likely to be rain in with that, and probably a milder sort of southerly flow. I'm not sure exactly where the trough is sitting, but we may be bringing that milder air from the south with that one into the 3rd week of November. Overall, though, it looks a fairly cool first half of November, I have to say. I think there is a little bit of wintry potential there for Scotland, not elsewhere, but probably the chance of night frost as we go through next week. So that's how it's looking. We've got a few days of warmer, drier conditions coming up for the rest of this week into next week. Looks like it turns more unsettled to start off with in the week, and then cooler with risk of night frost. There could be wintry showers up in the north. Right, that's all for now. Tomorrow it's 5-day forecast, and we'll also have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.